I don't think we're lagging at all. Am I lagging for you guys? Hi guys, welcome. Sorry that I'm late doing this live. I went to log on to Wave and I had to restart it. And I think it might have to do with something that I downloaded. I had this problem way back. I was going to play with ManyCam and I did that way back when I was with VIP Kid Teacher and it messed up everything. And I think that by downloading ManyCam, it messed it up again because once I closed it, everything seems to be working. So let me know if you can see me, hear me, whatever. Okay, so today I had been asked before about how to plan a lesson, like how to prepare for your lesson. And it's been, hi, Katie. I had to sit down and think about this when somebody was asking me how I prep my lessons, my online lessons, because it's not something that is something that I struggle with, to be honest. It's something that comes really natural to me. And I was thinking about this Tuesday. We had a Girl Scout meeting. So if you don't know, last year I was a Girl Scout troop leader. And this year I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I love the girls. I love being a troop leader. I don't like all the stuff that goes with it. I don't like having to try to micromanage parents, and I don't like having to do the finances, and it's a lot of planning and a lot goes into it, and working with the council, and it's not something that I want to have on my plate this year. So I told my other troop leader that I was going to be stepping down and somebody else was going to step up. So this is relevant. Okay. I promise this is relevant. So Tuesday we go into the troop meeting and I had stepped down. So I was just going to be there as a parent. And we had a new little girl there. She's from the UK and she moved to our little small town of 3,000 people. And it was really cool because we don't have, a diverse population like that where we get people from outside of other countries. So all the parents were talking, the troop leaders were talking, the girls started like literally climbing on tables, climbing under tables, running around like they were going nuts. I was like, okay, I might not be a troop leader, but let's do this. All right, who remembers? On my honor. So I got the girls to like teach the new girl, the Girl Scout, on my honor, I will try that whole thing. The Girl Scout motto, slogan, pledge, creed, whatever it is. And then I was like, okay, I don't know if she's got anything planned. Nobody's doing anything. I don't have anything planned. Let me go figure it out. So I take all the girls to a separate room that's adjacent to the room that all the parents were in and the troop leaders. And I sat down with them in a circle. And I was like, okay, everybody on your butts. Now I'm going to give you a little like reference here. These girls are like 6 and 7 years old. They're all like kindergarten, first and second grade. Sorry. I don't think we have any kindergartners this year. So we sit down and I was like, okay, let's just like really quickly introduce ourselves because we've got a new girl here. Everybody stand up, say your name and something that you want to tell about yourself, right? So like, oh, my name's Jill, and I like go, it's my name's, whatever. So then after that, I'm like, okay, I have nothing planned. I've brought nothing. I have done nothing. So this is lesson planning. This is how my brain works for lesson planning. That's how this is relevant. I'm like, I have nothing. And I was like, okay, our little girl is from a different country. Okay. She came from a different country. I said, everybody except for our girl from the UK here, who can tell me what country we live in? I didn't ask her because I figured she moved here. She's been coached on this so many times. So I was like, who can tell me what country we live in? And everybody was like naming the towns that we live in and the state. Nobody could say the country that we live in. These are first and second graders. So I was like, okay, I know what we're doing today. So we're going to talk about countries. So I started like naming off different countries and I'm like, can anybody tell me the name of the country that starts with Candyland? Okay, no, let's talk about countries. So then all these girls are like, because, they're first and second graders. They've had a long day at school. They're all feral children, right? At least mine are, and the other troop leaders are. So we have feral children. They're running around like crazy. And I was like, everybody freeze. And everybody froze. I said, okay, the spot that you are standing on right now, that is your country. You now have your own country. Everybody give their country a name. So everybody name their country some fun name, right? My country, of course, was Sparkly Goatland. So then we go on and we talked about the leaders of a country. What is the leader of a country, right? You have kings, you have queens, you have presidents, you have prime ministers. So now you are going to be the leader of your country. You get to decide what kind of leader you're going to be. So these kids then they decided that they were going to be a queen or they were going to be a president, and they all decided what leader they were going to be. Okay, what is your job? What is your job? Now mind you, this is not planned. I'm making this all up like off the seat of my pants. What is your job as a leader of your country? And she said, to protect my country. Okay, so how do you protect your country? And she's like, we have to fight. And I'm like, okay, what is that called? Right? That's a military. So I was like, well, Sparkly Goatland is going to come and I'm going to invade Candyland because I want all your candy. So I walked over there and she was like, and I was like, but I'm bigger than you and I'm stronger than you. What can you do? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, look around. Does anybody want to help Ivy? And the other girls were like, yeah. I'm like, are these your friends? So then we learned the vocabulary word ally. And then we talked about collecting taxes. This was really cute, actually. So I said, okay, so as the leader of your country, you're going to have to build things. You're going to have to make things. You're going to have to do things for your people, right? So what are some things that you can do? Like, what are some things you can build? And they're like schools, hospitals, roads, bridges. Like they came up with all of this. I'm like, okay. So you can collect taxes. All the people of your country are going to be able, you're going to be able to get money from them so that you have the money to do this. And I quizzed them again. And I said, what is that called when you take the money from the people in the country? And Ruby was like, she goes, robbery. It was great. So we learned about taxes, and then I said, okay, now it's time for you girls to go and build something. We're going to do something. We're going to build something with the taxes that you collected from your people. What do you want to bridge? Well, or what do you want to build? And they chose to build a bridge that connects all their countries. And all the girls lay down on the ground, and boop, they had a bridge. So I took the one little girl, and I moved her. I went bloop. I said, oh no, Elise, your part of the bridge is broken. What are you going to do now? And she's like, I'm going to fix it. I'm like, what do you need to fix it? She goes, a big giant bottle of glue. I'm like, okay, do you have a big giant bottle of glue in your country? And she's like, no, I don't. So then we talked about trade, and my daughter Claire came over. And she was like, I have a big bottle of glue. And I was like, well, Claire, what do you want for it? And she's like, I want candy. So they made a trade. So then afterwards, it was really cool. Because then afterwards, was there anything else that we talked about? I don't remember if there's anything else that we talked about. We didn't get into any politics or anything. But afterwards, I brought all the girls out in front of their parents, had them line up, and I quizzed them. They didn't say that taxes were robbery this time, but I quizzed them and I said, okay, girls, who can tell me what country do we live in? And they all shot up and I was like, 3, 2, 1. And they all knew the country that we live in. And I had them present their country, explain how their country is run. We had them explain to the parents what, who the leaders of countries are and what their responsibilities are and how they can protect people, what it's called when you're an ally, or what an ally is. So anyways, my point of this is that when it comes to lesson planning for me, I am the kind of teacher that can go in. I can go into a classroom of kids that I've never met before, whether it be a live classroom apparently or an online classroom. And you could give me a class and you could say, hey, I need a substitute teacher for my online class that's in 30 minutes. Can you take it? And I could say yes, because I could go in there, and as long as I kind of have an idea of something about the students, I can go in there and make a lesson off the top of my head. So lesson planning for me, especially since I teach creative writing. So a lot of what my lesson planning is happens in the beginning minutes of class. I assess the students as soon as they come in. I get to know them. I find out what it is that they're needing help on immediately. Like just like in this Girl Scout meeting, right? I went in there and I immediately found out, okay, they need help to learn about countries. Okay, they like need some basic social studies here. Afterwards, I told the leader, I said, I'm sure there's a patch for that. Like, we'll find a patch. Needless to say, I don't want to deal with any of the troop leader stuff, but I think I'm still running the meetings, because afterwards the parents and the troop leaders were like, you can't stop being a troop leader. Like, you've got this. And I like it too. I like working with kids. But yeah, she said, you told me this story yesterday and I found it crazy that kids couldn't even name their own country. So I had a conversation with Katie about this yesterday. And then I actually went to my dentist. Look, my tooth is fixed. Or my chipped tooth that everybody made fun of on my one video on my other YouTube channel. They were making fun of me because I had jacked up teeth. My tooth is fixed. Anyways, I went to the doctor's yesterday the dentist, and my dentist is from Haiti. And we were talking, I was actually talking to Katie while I was at the dentist, and I started talking about this with the dentist, and I'm like, you probably have a passport, don't you? And he was like, yeah, my family's still in Haiti. And I asked the other girl, who was like obviously American born, like, do you have a passport? And she's like, no. In America, I don't think that it's knowledge of countries and what they are isn't like, yeah, we learn it at school, but it's not as applicable as it is in other countries like the UK, like any other country really, because America's so big that we don't tend to travel outside of our country. So like a lot of the kids can name states, but they can't name other countries yet at this age. Whereas like I was talking to Katie, and she said by the time she was 7, she had been to like a bunch of different countries. Most people in America, if they're American born, don't have passports. And let me know in the comments where you're from and if you have a passport. But I think that people in America, we don't use passports unless we're going on a trip. And then a lot of times it's like, oh, I have to go get my passport because I'm going on a trip. So yeah, that's a little side note there. But if you do not have the ability to make up lessons when you go in there, right? And I'm not even saying like make up lessons, because you can have a lesson plan and then immediately go in and have to change things up. I've had that happen so many times where I have a lesson planned out for a student, go in there, and then it's like, we got to take a sharp left because this isn't going to work. Not all teachers are like that. Not all teachers could go into a room filled with 6 and 7-year-olds and create a lesson about geography, about social studies. What is important here is to be able to have an idea of the material that you're going to do. So Abridge Academy, I'm gonna put this link in there. If you're teaching kids, where are we here? If you are teaching children, Abridge Academy has amazing curriculum. This is an affiliate link, I will let you know right now. But Abridge Academy has amazing curriculum. So you don't have to do that lesson planning. It's already in there. So there's a what is it? It's a placement test, like a placement lesson where you can figure out where they're going to go. And then you can actually put them in the level that they should be at. And then every day when you go in, boom, your lesson is right there. If you are teaching adults, there's one called ESL Speakeasy, which same thing. Everything is in there. And then we have, these are different. Hold on a second. I'm going to give you some different ones too. Young Learners Curriculum is another one. These are all scaffolded lessons that you do not have to do any like prep for, because it's all there. And then Teachers Together English. Here we go. So these are all, did I put, okay, yeah, I did. These are all different curriculums that you can use so that you can just start going and start teaching. You log in, you get it. One of the things that I like to do when I'm preparing my lessons and planning my lessons is I like to plan them on Koala. So if you go to Teach with Koala, that is the, I've got a link for it too. Hold on. If you go to Teach with Koala or Koala Go, it's kind of like a Zoom for kids, but one of the really cool features that they have about it is they have different lessons that you can take, or different rooms you can make. So what I like to do is I like to make a separate room for each of my students or each of my groups of students if I'm teaching a group class. And in that room, it's basically going to have a whiteboard. You can add different whiteboards in it, so it turns it into slides. So if I'm teaching students and I know that I'm going to be using something off of Twinkle, which is a really cool website where you can pull things like different slides and stuff up, I can actually go and put that all in there, download that all in there. So when my students come into my Koala Go classroom, they automatically have their slides up there too. You can also do that if you're teaching on all school. You can put it into their, what's it called? ClassPad? Brain not working. Ow. No, but you can put it into the all school platform too. You can do it with ClassIn. Wherever you're teaching your lessons, as long as it's not Zoom, because you can't do that. Google Classroom, you can put all of your slides and your curriculum right in there. So if you take a day to prep like your week's worth of lessons, like if you know, like I'm going to be teaching this to these students this week, like this week is, okay, Halloween's coming up. And I'm going to be doing a series of Halloween lessons. So I'm going to go and I'm going to find my Halloween lessons and I'm going to upload them into wherever I'm teaching my lessons. ClassPad. Is that what I said? I think I said ClassPad. It was like brain broke. But I'm going to take them and I'm going to upload them into, into ClassPad, into Koala Go, into ClassIn, wherever I'm doing this, I'm going to put my lessons right there ahead of time. So now I'm not fumbling trying to look for them. Obviously, if you teach on Zoom, it's a little different and you can't do that. But wherever it is, like have it somewhere where you can access it immediately, like a folder with their name or class time on it or something. You could even put it in your, like if you do a Google Calendar, if you have a Google Calendar where you put all of your classes on there, or if you have something that integrates with Google Calendar that puts it there, you can actually put the link of the stuff on there so you know exactly where you're going. So it's really about organization as far as that goes. But preload everything. Yeah, she says I preload everything in Koala the night before, so it's all ready to go. Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Well, no, I lied. I like a lot about Koala Go, but that's one of the things that I like about Koala Go is each of my students can have their own room. And I can just have everything. And then like 60 slides in, I can go back and I can just click back to review something that they did a couple of days ago or a couple of classes ago. It's really cool. And it even saves their work. So if they're writing a story on the board, like I have one of my girls that's learning creative writing, and she's learning how to type as well. So she types it right on the board and it's saved, and I have all of her work right there. You could also do it. You could also do it if you're using Book Creator. Book Creator allows you to like make lessons like that, and you can also do it in Canva. If you go into Canva, there's actually a section there where you can create lessons that are all in one. They're all in one thing here. I don't think I have that open right now. Oh yeah, I do. Hold on a second. You can create lessons in Canva, and you can, let me see here, actually go through and add different things. So if you have like a week's worth of stuff that you're planning, you can, and you make it all in Canva, if you're doing that, you can put it right in there. I think the biggest thing is organization when it comes to that. The other big thing is learning how to walk into a situation with new students or existing students and really learn how to assess them on the spot. Like, pay attention to the cues they're giving you. I walked into this Girl Scout meeting and I said, okay, we need to do something today because they need to move. They need to be moving right now because they've lost it. We need something that's going to get them moving. We need something that's going to get them listening. We need something that's going to get them engaged and interactive and being able to, like, tactile things, right? And keep going. And it's like, okay, we need to do something about this. I can go in and say I'm teaching a writing lesson, and I have planned for my writing lesson that we're going to be working on a story plot. And as I'm beginning the lesson with the students, I realize that the students have no idea how to use adjectives. My lesson plan immediately shifts, and we're not doing a story plot where I might have them choose 3 random characters and put them in a haunted house. That's not the story that we're writing anymore, because that's not what their needs are saying. That's not what they need at the moment. They need to learn how to do descriptive writing. So now, instead of the plot for the haunted house, we're going to have them imagine a haunted house, and we're going to have them describe it using adjectives, using different kinds of describing words. We're going to have them use synonyms, and we're going to have them build it, paint it with their words, right? So you have to be able to be flexible sometimes too. And a lot of teachers, I mean, it's okay if you're just going to go on and log into your class and then click and just go through the curriculum that's on Abridge Academy, or that's on Teachers Together English, or ESL Pals, or any of those like scaffolded lessons. Scaffolding is like where one thing builds on the next and each lesson takes it. It's like climbing a ladder, right? If you're going to just do that and that's the way you teach, that's okay, right? That's how you are as a teacher. But you just need to be able to have a plan. Like, just know, this is how I teach. I stay with the curriculum. I don't switch it up because that's going to mess me up. But I have a plan here where I know this is what each of my students or each of my groups is doing, and this is how I do it. Katie said, I had a class yesterday where in the first part, it was clear the student was struggling with past tense. So we switched it up to focus that and jumped to the Koala whiteboard. Yeah. And that's kind of like not really a beginner teacher thing, right? So that's why I say, like, it's okay if you're going to stick to the curriculum. I don't, it was a long time ago that I started teaching. I don't know if I could have done this when, like, just walked in and been like, okay, different lesson. I mean, they don't even know it's a different lesson. but in my brain, I'm like, different lesson. I don't know if I could have done that when I was a brand new teacher. I think like when I started with Palefish, and I relied on the slides. I had no idea what I was doing. If that's where you're at, don't feel like it's necessary for you to do something that takes you well out of your comfort zone that will no longer have you teaching well, right? Like if you're going to teach well on the slides and that's where you're at right now, I would encourage you to learn how to do this so that it's going to make your life so much easier. So much easier. I can have a student sign up for a class like that's in 15 minutes and boom, go into class. And I mean, I've done this so many times that I already have my word bank of creative writing things, right? Like I already know, or not a word bank, but I already had like, there's a library in my head of lessons basically. So when a student comes in, I have a brand new class that just popped up on my schedule, full of a bunch of like second graders, third graders that I've never met before. They're ESL students. What do? My very first thing is I'm going to go in there, spend about 2 minutes getting to know them, and then immediately have them do a task. And I think my task would probably be, if I were to start this lesson right this second, it would be, okay, we're going to write a story about, like you're going to write about me, but I'll put a twist on it so it's not boring. So like about me, if I was a superhero, and include your family in it. And, so yeah, she said, don't be afraid to adapt your plans. So when it comes to lesson planning, just know there are tools out there, and I can make a video on each of these different tools. Like I'll make little videos for you guys on like Google Classroom and how to use Koala Go to separate your lessons, and using the different whiteboards, the different rooms. If there's anything that you want like a specific thing on, let me know. But I think that it really starts with like level 1 teacher, like beginner teachers. They're going to be focusing on the curriculum. Because most likely, I mean, there's always going to be exceptions to the rules, but most likely you'll be focusing on your curriculum. The next level up student, or the next level up teachers, they're going to focus on the curriculum, or they're going to use the curriculum, but also have something that's supporting them outside of the curriculum, whether it be their imaginations or other tools like from Twinkle. The next level up teachers, they're the ones like that are going to be able, their experience, they can walk into a new situation and they can immediately get a lesson going. Okay. So I guess I'm not really a lesson planner at this point in time. Because I can take a group of kids and teach them a lesson on anything with like no except for math. Don't make me teach math. Math I would have to prepare for. But anything like in the English language, or like history. I've done history things, world things. I can do that. She said, I'm sorry if you said this, but what do you use to assess new students? So for me, I use my ears. I have conversations with them. So that's kind of like at the experienced teacher level. I don't use any tools to assess new students. I go in there, I start working with a student. I will, when I do, so I do writing, ESL and ELA. And, Katie says math is one I just do totally unprepped. Oh my God. No, I could never. I would not, would not, should not ever take a math class. I still count on my fingers. Okay. Math is not something I will ever want to teach. But for me, when I go into a new class or have a new student, I first talk to them. I get an idea how well they can speak, how well they can listen. And then I will usually have them, like, we'll usually do like a writing thing. if I can get writing from the parents ahead of time, I like to do that. Like, hey, can you send me a sample of their writing so I have an idea? But a lot of times, most times, parents don't send that to me, or they like say they will, but then they never do. So it's a little bit harder to assess, like to pre-assess your classes. So a lot of it's assessing on the spot. Or if I was working for like a class on like all school or out school, I'm not getting any of that information. I'm just a student's popping up into my class that I've never met before. So what I like to do is I just have a conversation with them. What's your name? Where are you from? How old are you? What grade are you in? Just basic, get to know your questions. Ask them what did you do today? See where they're at in their conversation. And then I find out what they like. And usually if it's a one-on-one class or even a group class, sometimes I can do this in group classes too. I'll find out what they like, what their hobbies are. And then I'll have them start writing a story. And I like to use Book Creator for this. I'll have them start writing a story. And then I'll watch them as they do it. So for me, assessing students, it's eyes and ears. If you're new and you're not at that like experienced level of teacher, or you don't feel comfortable doing that, and it's not your thing, you want a tool, because everyone is different, right? You want a tool. Abridge Academy has a tool that helps you assess the students, and so does Twinkle. I have a link for it. They made an assessment, like a new trial class assessment thing for me like 2 years ago when they did a live. So there are different tools out there that you can use to assess the students. If anybody else has a different way that they assess students, just drop it in the comments. But it's a lot of eyes, ears, just listening to them, talking to them. Don't ask them yes or no questions. Ask them engaging questions. So it's not like, oh, how was your day today? Did you go to school today? It's, hey, what did you do today? Oh, okay, I go to school. Okay, now we have a problem with past tense, right? I went to school, right? Or what did you do today? And maybe you can tell that they have a very low level of confidence in speaking. So it's really just paying attention to your students and figuring it out from there. Katie says, I used to tutor math a lot. It's so weird as an American seeing it plural, but mostly lower level GCSE prep. So quite easy to make up questions on the spot, and you can easily find worksheets in a few seconds as you go. Yeah, I would be like 9 plus 11. No, I'm just kidding. Like I would have to use my calculator to even double check. My math is atrocious. I could not. When I'm going to use this as my excuse, but sorry. When I was in second grade, I had a rare virus that mimicked polio, and it made it so that I couldn't walk. Like I woke up one day and I was stuck on my bunk bed. I'm like, Dad, I couldn't and I was pulled out of school for a little bit because of this, getting tests done, trying to figure out what it was. And my legs didn't work. And I missed all of my times tables and learning that. So that's what I blame my math on, is the fact that I had to be out of school for a month. It's probably not an excuse, but that's what I'm blaming it on. Yeah. But yeah, so anyways, if you have any other ideas of how to prep, let me know. I almost majored in physics, loved loved maths. I was almost a neurologist. I would have had to love math, but then I had a kid, so I decided not to be a neurologist. But I that's what I was going to go to school for. And then decided that there's no way that I could do the residencies, and also hated math. So it's okay. It's probably a good thing. I probably would hate my job. But yeah, anyways, that's what I do. Learn how to assess your students, go in there, speak with them, plan something out with them, have a set curriculum that you use. Like, stick with like 1 or 2 different curricula. If you know that you're going to do something scaffolded, excuse me, I yawn when I'm not tired. If you know that you're going to do something scaffolded, then choose one of the scaffolded things. I'll put them in the description box too, but I did list them in the comments if you're here live. And if not, like, figure out your organization system. Like, are you going to make your whiteboards in Koala Go? Are you going to do something in Google Classroom? Are you going to organize it in like your ClassPod or ClassIn? And just kind of like tweak things as you go along. Lesson prep should not take a long time. If you are prepping every lesson and creating curriculum for every single new student, it's probably not worth your time. Think about what you charge per hour. So if you're charging $20 an hour, right? That's a lower hourly rate, but it's fine. If you're charging like $20 an hour for your online teaching and you're spending $3, maybe I should have done this. Maybe I should have done this where I didn't have to do math, but you're spending 3 hours in addition to that 20 hours or that hour of teaching. You're spending 3 hours making slides for that curriculum. You just knocked yourself down to $5 an hour. See, I can do math. Okay, you just knocked yourself down to $5 an hour. Is it worth it? Or is it better to go and spend 10, 20, 30 bucks, whatever it is a month on curriculum that you can now spend all of that prep time just going in to the classroom? That's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to, unless you're doing something like super, super different or unusual and there's not curriculum there and you can reuse it every single time and you have a structured way of doing it. If there's curriculum that's out there, it's probably better to just go use somebody else's curriculum, because you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel when somebody's already done it. Obviously, you're going to pay them for their work. You're not going to steal their stuff, right? You're going to pay them for the work that they put in. But at the end of the day, it just makes more sense to have that. So if anybody has any questions, I'm sorry that this live went a little late. I'm blaming it on, what was that? The background thingy. I'm blaming it on that. I've had problems with that years ago and I think I still do. But yeah, the background thingy. What's it called? Where you have the pretty backgrounds. Not this. But yeah, I'm going to end this. If you have any questions as far as any of this goes and you want something like more in depth on any of the curriculum or the tools or anything that I listed, let me know in the comments and I will see you guys all later. All right. Bye guys. Thanks for tuning